At 04:17 a.m., a Russian radar operator at the Chongar Bridge checks his schedule, completely unaware that Ukrainian eyes have been tracking his exact position for the last 58 minutes. In exactly 94 seconds, his routine shift will turn into the worst logistics disaster of the war. Just 48 hours ago, Vladimir Putin issued a mafia-style ultimatum demanding Kiev's unconditional surrender before Christmas. Tonight, Ukraine is delivering their answer, and it isn't a letter. It is a phantom brood of Magura V5 stealth drones rushing toward the bridge at 50 miles per hour to sever the very last artery feeding 25,000 Russian troops in Crimea. And the Russian defenses remain totally blind to the catastrophe barreling toward them. The Russians don't know what's about to hit them, but you do. If you were commanding this swarm, which target would you prioritize to cripple the enemy? Would you hit the massive fuel depot to start an inferno? Or take out the main radar tower to blind their response? Drop your strategy in the comments right now, because in less than a minute we are going to see exactly how Ukraine decided to break the Russian war machine. At 1 a.m., 4 Magura V5s departed from the coast of Kherson, cutting through the darkness like the world's deadliest Uber Eats drivers, with water jet propulsion pushing them to 48 miles per hour and a massive operational range of 500 miles. And they didn't take the direct route. Instead of flying drones straight from the mainland, the Ukrainians are executing a tactic known as Phantom Brood. The Maguras are sea-skimming across the Azov, hugging the waves at just 3 to 6 feet. They are using the ocean itself as a natural stealth shield, staying well below the radar horizon where physics makes them invisible. Inside the hollowed-out hull of each Magura sits a payload that would make a FedEx logistics manager weep with envy. They are carrying a total of 28 pounds of specialized hardware. As they reach the shallow waters of the Syvash, where the depth is barely 6 feet, the Maguras slow to a crawl. This is the Wall of Death zone. The hatches silently slide open. Like a swarm of angry wasps released from a hive, the FPV drones buzz to life and lift off, staying mere feet above the whitecaps. Back in the command center, a pilot cracks a grin and mutters, "These little bees are gonna sting Putin's bridge right in the ass." At 04:29 a.m., the Russian shift commander sits inside the climate-controlled command vehicle of the S-400 Triumph battery. The screen displays data from the massive 91N6E Big Bird acquisition radar, which is currently sweeping a 370-mile radius with enough electromagnetic energy to detect a soccer ball in the stratosphere. This system is designed to track 300 targets simultaneously and guide missiles at Mach 14 to intercept threats at the edge of space. To his right, the console for the R-330ZH Zhidal electronic warfare station shows that it is flooding the local atmosphere with high-intensity jamming noise across the 900 to 1900 MHz spectrums. The output gauges confirm it is creating a denial-of-service attack so powerful that it creates a complete GPS blackout zone for any satellite-guided weapon attempting to enter the Chongar sector. The operator confidently logs a green status report, believing he is sitting inside an impenetrable electromagnetic fortress. However, he is completely unaware that his $500 million system has a fatal blind spot hard-coded into its own logic. To prevent the radar from locking onto ocean waves, moving trucks, or flocks of birds, the S-400's targeting algorithms utilize a heavy moving target indicator filter. This software automatically rejects and deletes any radar return signal below 100 feet, classifying it as irrelevant ground clutter. The system is aggressively scanning the heavens for high-altitude F-16s or Storm Shadow missiles by exploiting the curvature of the Earth and the radar's own clutter filters. The Phantom Brood is not overpowering the Russian defense. It is simply operating underneath the system's ability to perceive reality. At 04:29 a.m., the Russian R-330ZH Zhidal electronic warfare station detects a faint anomaly in the background noise and immediately screams into action, pumping billions of watts of jamming energy into the atmosphere. Under normal circumstances, this is the kill zone where commercial drones suffer a seizure. Their video feeds cut to static, their GPS compasses spin wildly, and they drop out of the sky like dead birds. The Russian operator watches his power output gauges hit the red line, confident that he is frying the circuits of anything trying to communicate on the 2.4 or 5.8 GHz bands. But in the Ukrainian command bunker 30 miles away, the video feed doesn't even flicker. The pilots are viewing the target in crystal clear, uncompressed 4K resolution with zero latency. This is because the Phantom Brood has completely abandoned the radio spectrum. Trailing behind each Vampire drone is a microfilament fiber-optic cable, unspooling from a canister like a spider's web. This is the ultimate countermeasure to modern electronic warfare. You can jam radio waves, you can spoof GPS satellites, but you cannot jam a beam of light trapped inside a glass strand. While the Russians are trying to flood the airwaves with noise, essentially trying to scream at a deaf person, the Ukrainian drones are operating on a hardwired Ethernet connection that rivals a Google data center. At 04:30 a.m., the Russian defensive line descends into absolute chaos. On the S-400 radar screens, the empty night sky suddenly blooms into a nightmare. Hundreds of distinct targets appear out of nowhere, swarming the sector like a cloud of locusts. But these aren't drones. Seconds before the main strike, the Magura V5 C drones floating below popped their auxiliary hatches and fired canister shells into the air. These canisters didn't contain explosives. They contained thousands of strips of aluminum-coated fiberglass, naval chaff. To the 92N6E radar, which relies on radio wave reflection, this cloud of floating metal looks exactly like an invading armada of attack helicopters. The Russian commander panics. He screams, "Mayday! Targets everywhere! Free fire!" and slams the emergency engagement button. The Pantsir S1 system, designed to be the goalkeeper for the S-400, swivels its turret instantly. Its twin 30mm cannons erupt, spewing flame, while 12 57E6 missiles streak off the rails in rapid succession. This is a terrifying display of firepower, costing the Russian Federation roughly $4.8 million in under 10 seconds. And every single dollar is wasted. The missiles slam into the chaff clouds, exploding harmlessly against drifting pieces of foil while the cannon rounds churn up the seawater. The Russians are burning their entire defensive budget fighting a Phantom, a decoy trick as old as World War II, executed with lethal modern timing. And in that precise moment of distraction, while the Pantsir is empty and reloading, Ukraine plays its ace. 4 high-speed Osa FPV drones detach from the Magura motherships and accelerate to 120 miles per hour. These aren't the slow, heavy bombers, these are the assassins. They ignore the bridge, they ignore the fuel train. Their target is the nervous system of the defense, the command vehicle, and the Jitel EW tower. Because they are tethered by fiber-optic cables, the massive jamming energy now flooding the area has absolutely no effect on them. It's like trying to stop a bullet by shouting at it. The lead Osa pilot lines up his crosshairs on the rotating gravestone radar dish. Impact! The Osa drone slams into the radar array with a tandem charge warhead. The physics here are surgical. The first precursor charge detonates, punching a clean hole through the radar's armored protective housing. Microseconds later, the main charge blasts through that opening, detonating inside the delicate electronics of the transmitter. It's not just a hit, it is a lobotomy. Simultaneously, the second and third Osa drones strike the Jitel jamming station and the command post container. The screens inside the Russian bunker don't just flicker, they explode into sparks and then go dead black. The deafening hum of the cooling fans dies out. The jamming signal cuts off, the radar stops spinning. For the Russian soldiers on the ground, the world suddenly goes terrifyingly quiet. The frantic noise of the Pantsir firing has stopped. The electronic hum is gone. They are now standing in the dark, completely blind, deaf, and disconnected from HQ. And then, out of that silence, they hear a new sound. The low, heavy, angry buzz of the Vampire hexacopters, the heavy bombers, finally rising from the water to finish the job. The security system has been smashed, the guards have been neutralized, and the bank vault is wide open. At 04:31 a.m., we enter the terminal phase. This is no longer a battle of electronic warfare or radar cross-sections. This is now purely a matter of Newtonian physics and cold, hard timing. Through the uncompressed, zero-latency 4K feed of the lead Vampire drone, the target resolves from the darkness with terrifying clarity. The Chongar Railway Bridge. But as the drone pushes through the final curtain of mist, the operator in Kherson realizes that fate has decided to offer a grim, buy one, get one free promotion tonight. Rumbling across the steel spans is a Russian military supply train, its heavy wheels grinding against the tracks. It isn't empty. The thermal cameras pick up the distinct heat signatures of diesel locomotives and the cold, dense outlines of armored flatbeds stacked with crates. Intelligence suggests these are 152mm artillery shells and aviation fuel intended for the Zaporizhzhia front. It's a rolling powder keg, a moving bomb waiting for a match. Inside the command bunker, the room goes deadly silent. The pilot's heart rate is spiking, but his hands are surgical. He isn't fighting static or lag. Thanks to the fiber-optic tether, the control inputs are as crisp as if he were sitting on the drone itself. He gently banks the heavy hexacopter, lining up the crosshairs not on the bridge deck, but on the gap between the fuel tanker and the ammunition car, the structural weak point where a detonation will do the maximum amount of catastrophic work. 10, 9, sight locked on pier number 4, intercept geometry is green. On the bridge, a Russian sentry shivering in his greatcoat hears a sound over the rhythmic clatter of the train wheels. It's a low, heavy, menacing thrum, like a lawnmower running in the sky. He unslings his rifle and sweeps his tactical flashlight into the darkness above the rails. For a split second, the light illuminates the Vampire drone, a 6-armed black spider carrying a gray cylinder of death, hovering just 50 feet away. The sentry freezes. His brain struggles to process the image. In the bunker, the operator pushes the throttle to max. The Vampire tips its nose down, shedding its potential energy for kinetic speed. The fiber-optic cable spools out frantically behind it, the final lifeline to the human world. Time to clip the umbilical, Ruskies! The screen fills with the rushing image of steel, wood, and terrified faces. The drone isn't just falling, it is driving the warhead into the target with the precision of a diamond cutter. The electronic feed cuts to black. The connection is broken. The physics have taken over. At 04:32 a.m., the tandem warhead functions exactly as the engineers intended. The precursor charge punches through the thin steel skin of the fuel tanker like a needle popping a balloon, creating a pathway for the main event. 0.8 seconds later, a blink of an eye that determines the fate of an entire front line, the PBK 500U thermobaric charge detonates. This isn't a standard explosion. It doesn't just push air, it consumes it. The charge disperses a massive cloud of aerosolized fuel that mixes with the oxygen in the surrounding air before igniting. The result is a pressure wave of 430 psi that expands at supersonic speed. To understand the violence of this number, imagine a 10-ton truck being dropped on your chest. The blast wave liquefies the steel structure of the tanker car instantly, vaporizing 60 tons of aviation fuel into an expanding fireball. But the real catastrophe is the domino effect. The shockwave, moving faster than the speed of sound, hammers the adjacent ammunition car. The crates of 152mm shells, already unstable, sympathetic detonate. A secondary explosion rips the night apart, sending a column of fire 200 feet into the air. The force is so immense that it lifts the 120-ton locomotive off the tracks and tosses it into the Syvash Sea like a child's toy. The concrete pier of the bridge, subjected to lateral forces it was never designed to withstand, shears at the base. The steel span twists, groans, and then collapses into the dark water, dragging the burning wreckage of the train with it. For 7 minutes, secondary explosions continue to rock the coastline as artillery shells cook off, creating a fireworks display that can be seen from occupied Crimea to free Kherson. As the sun rises over the Azov Sea, the true scale of the disaster becomes visible to satellite imagery. It's a scene of total devastation. The impenetrable Chongar Bridge is gone, replaced by twisted metal and a gaping 280-yard hole. Look at the map. Crimea is no longer a fortress, it is a prison. With the Kerch bridge already crippled and now Chongar severed, the supply chain for 25,000 Russian troops has been effectively decapitated. They are now an island force, cut off from fuel, cut off from ammo, and cut off from hope. The just-in-time delivery system of the Russian army has just been permanently cancelled. Vladimir Putin demanded a surrender in 48 hours. Instead, Ukraine took less than 48 minutes to turn his most critical strategic asset into a pile of scrap metal at the bottom of the sea. So, here is the lesson for the history books. Never bring 20th century arrogance to a 21st century drone fight. When you think your bridges are safe and your radars are invincible, remember that somewhere in the dark, a $500 drone with a fishing line and a grudge is coming to prove you wrong. How will Moscow respond? Will they try to resupply by air into a zone swarming with patriots? Or will they watch their fortress starve? Drop your predictions in the comments below. And if you want to see exactly how Putin plans to fix this logistical nightmare, hit that subscribe button right now. Bye for now.